Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Under Construction. This is episode number... what? It's episode number 30. Wow, we've been doing this for 30 weeks. I'm kind of impressed. Actually, it's slightly more than 30 weeks. It'd be more like 33 at this point, considering everything that's going on. So, here we are, back on the stretch of the Gilson Eastern that will eventually be a whopping 15 miles long. And its slow progression is upcoming. But for now, we're just going to continue moving on in this direction. And then we'll come back and do scenery later. I did say I need to route the interstate down here. That's sort of something to work on / think about. Not entirely sure how I'm going to do that, really. It's going to be interesting to attempt. Because this terrain is admittedly pretty rugged. It's not very steep, but it's steep enough. I've also said I might just route the interstate down here because that might work. Oh, that looks cool. Look at that. Yeah, I might do that. And then we can have this, and we can have like an interchange over here, which would, I guess, make sense for this area. But then the interstate would come very close to this, and I kind of want to keep it on this side of the Gilson Eastern for a little while. Either way, it's got to get over here. But we do need to think about that. So let me grab some of Mason's rows real quick and just see what I can get out of this. So garnish. So these ASAP. Oh, that's cool. I mean, we could always just use these, but I think these are not good enough. This. Which that's a little interesting. These are like highways, not interstates. This is that with acceleration deceleration lanes. I need to get the one-way versions. Oh, these are things that I have just from Mason's pack and not anything else. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where... What is this? Does it have cars in both directions? I would assume so, because it's got that on it. Stop, slow, railroad crossing. Oh, we do have this. That's useful. I'll have to use that somewhere. Merge lane, merge ramp. This is like a one-way. This is a one-way spline. Divided highway. Divided highway. That's what I want. Like this. Yes, excellent. So we'll need these guys. I wouldn't think they were called, you know, the way they are. Divided highway, divided highway. I need just one with 2 lanes. Oh, these guys, I don't suppose those guys are on the DLS, are they? Yet. Because I got them all with Mason's route. That's why they're not. Okay, I don't know what that is. Mason, you go ahead and tell me if those guys are actually on the thing or not, on the DLS or not. I don't want the bridge version, I just want... Yeah, like this would be good. I could go for these. You know, have a pair of these. I should probably build more in this direction before I do that, though. You know, let me add a couple more tiles here. Oh, hold on. Yep, get rid of that. Set this to 5 meter grid. This has got to go off that way. I'm actually sort of... I'm excited to build this. So we might do that after we get some more mainline, because After the New England, Berkshire, and Western operating session, I'm sort of enthused by single-track mainline passing sidings, stuff like that. I'm under the impression that TBA's route, the Dragon Pass, is going to be not necessarily unlike that, and I'm excited to drive that as well. But, you know. Alright, so we've got to build this up the same way we did that over there. Although we can be a little bit more careful with this edge area. Sort of a question of, you know, where do we really want to go? How far do we want to go? You know, where do we want to go before turning? And, I mean, that's really not questions to have necessarily, because we're doing the terrain first. If it comes out that there's a big hill in the way, we're going to have to turn. It's just the way I'm doing it. In fact, I brought up that sharp curve on the VMR to my friends, and Chris in particular, he's like, "You're God! You can change the you can move the mountains." I said there was a mountain in the way. He goes, "You can move the mountain, you're literally God." And I was like, nah, it's staying the way it is. It's the way it happened, it's the way it's staying. But the problem is, yeah, we get all these lumps that I'm not really okay with, because the terrain ends up being kind of steep. And that's not really what I want. I want it to be a lot smoother, but it just happens when you have higher sensitivity, and I have higher sensitivity up because if I don't, it'll take me forever to raise something. You know, like this. I can stand here and sort of massage the earth for an hour and get a mountain out of it instead of 5 minutes. I mean, I don't really want a mountain, but the point stands. The point I'm trying to make is there. It's that we've got this stuff, basically, and it's impeding my ability to make things. I don't know. It takes a while to make these slow, slopey things. Alternatively, what I could do is I could lay out a flat area for us, but that's no fun. What I'm thinking of doing, though, is I might bring it down a little bit and then back up. If we start to pile up stuff over here instead of directly by the ocean, we could even route directly along the ocean side if we wanted to. And I'm thinking about that. I haven't done too much brainstorming on what this area is absolutely going to look like, but my trip down the Hudson River the other day, or, you know, not down the river itself, but down the river, it sort of gave me some ideas as to what I want to do with this area. And big part of it is just having these hills in the background where, you know, there's not really going to be anything back here except for hills and trees. And, you know, maybe a couple roads that go off into nowhere. I do want to put a quarry or something somewhere, because this area, this sort of landscape, is ripe for that. Even though technically I would like to put quarries on the other side for harder rocks, this would be a more belonging place for something like a gravel or sand quarry. Or a sand pit, I guess. It wouldn't really be a quarry. Or even some of the softer sedimentary rocks like limestone. But it can be done, and that's what I'm thinking of doing. And on the other side, there's going to be a lot more minerals, a lot more mining. Sort of what I've been thinking of, at least. Yeah, see, this area is getting flat, like very, very flat. That's why I might sort of go this way. I have to be careful with my curvature, though. This is an extremely sharp curve for what I want to do. I'll have to put some super elevation on that. By the way, since the version of the route is out, if anybody has an issue with the current version and has something you want me to change, want me to improve, post a comment about it, I'll be right on that. You know, last episode's a good example. Mason mentioned the way the roads were, and that's what I did immediately. So, if you want me to do something, say something. Also, if you notice something that's a little bit off with the route, is something wrong or whatever. One of the things that did occur to me is I've been using primarily, and this is because of Mason's route and Mason. I've been using primarily Milwaukee switch stands for anything that's off the main line of the Gilson Eastern. So anything that wouldn't be a dispatcher-controlled switch. Now, I am more into using those for VMR stuff, and instead what I might use is these other ones that I happen to stumble upon that I'm gonna show off maybe in a little bit. You know, I need to create more of a sensible kind of gully for the tracks to cross. I would like to have a culvert bridge that I could use. Yeah, I think we can continue going straight through here. This route's over-engineered anyways. Supposed to be. But yeah, having a little culvert bridge here would not be insane. This guy is a pretty good metric. We're actually getting even higher. Let me pop open the minimap and see what the gradient is on this piece of track. Alright, map display options, show me gradients. Still doing that, isn't it? 0.63 it looks like. Which is high. Let me move this to here, see what it is. Negative 0.06, that is more like it. Again, I still would like to do a culvert bridge here. So what I might do is put a culvert bridge here. There are a lot of, I think, Ben Dorsey ones. Let me see if I have anything that will span a culvert. No, just some pipes. How big is this? Oh, you know what? It's too tall. If I have one that's like twice as tall, then I might do that. Yeah, I would like to put something there, I just don't know what to put there. Let me see, let me just, so we don't have culvert, let's just type in bridge. Oops. Bridge. Actually, what I could do is I could just use, not that, abomination. What is this? This seems cool. We could use this somewhere. Oh, this is really cool. Tell me this is built, yeah, tell me this is built in or on the DLS. Oh, yeah. Oh, we could definitely use the hell out of this. I would even put that over with the big bridge over there. But we've already sort of settled that one. Yeah, no, that's ancient. Steel railroad bridge. No. Standing gauge bridge track. Plate girder double track. Okay, that's kind of cool. I think we've used this. Yeah, we used that. We've got this. The 80-foot box girder bridge. Which is cool. Doesn't really work here, though, because the thing is not far down enough. Track, tunnel, or whatever. Here's a bridge track. good for single player, or single track, but not for much else by the looks. This is a girder bridge. It's not a plate girder bridge. This is just a regular girder bridge. And this is too tall. Alright, whatever, we'll just make this an embankment. Maybe we'll put a culvert pipe through it. Actually, that doesn't even work because that's in a depression. So I've actually got to make a way out of that now. As per my own rules, I guess, and per the rules of nature and water, and how that all works. Yeah, that's a little bit larger than I would have liked. But, there we go, we now have an inlet there. And where's the highway? Yeah, that'll go right across the mouth of that inlet. So it'll go right over here. Let me do this, turn down the radius. Make it look a little bit more natural. Cut this back a little bit. Yep, and then bring this in here to close that a little bit. That we could use the culvert pipes for if it was tall enough. But there, we've got our first little estuary-ish area. I might even have a little community here. Alright, so let's continue. That's another however long of track, and it's also dead straight. Still dead straight. This is an area where you can really open her up. Which is good considering it comes right after that dreadful curve. Alright, we gotta line this up properly. Using the middle grid lines and stuff seems to be good for that. I do want to have a bit where like two of the tracks split off and do something else, but I don't think this is the area to do it in. This area has too much in the way of rolling hills and not enough in the way of other hills. Yeah, so there's our cut to embankment to cut straight line. And it's not even that tall. And we're nowhere close, but we're getting somewhere. This segment of track crossed like another half a tile. Actually, crossed 2/3 of a tile. Good. Let's get this to... I just want to work on this now. Like, I'm already committed. But we've just got to move on. I'm committed to this. I'm not going to abandon that anytime soon. We can't build to the edge, though, because we don't know how that's all going to line up, how it's going to work. So that means we're going to do sort of a half and half job with what we're doing here. The other side of it is when we go to build that, we probably don't want to bring it out too far. But we will want to bring it out far enough. I should be able to build up to the edge over here and beyond. So, because if I can get this thing to go out this way, even if I can get it to here, it should be good enough. Or, you know, here. But it's going to be meandering anyways. The question is our protrusion here going across this going this way? The other question is, do we want to actually turn this in this way a little bit instead of that? But the idea is that Tolbrand as a whole is fairly straight. You know, the peninsula is fairly straight. Although I do think I might, you know, build it out this way so we have a little bit more of a gradual thing. Yeah, I will do that. Let me just put a little marker here for me to do that in the future. Yeah, and we can bring it 2 or 3 or 4 tiles this way even, because we're gonna go here. We're gonna proceed onto like a spit into an estuary, and even then I might want another thing here. We're gonna do a little bit of weaving, and then we're gonna go this way along the coastline, and then off the coastline actually. You know, we could force the rail line to the coast if we wanted to by building up more hills over here, but I don't think that's necessary. In fact, what I might want to do is even lessen that a little bit. I did talk about bringing the rail down to whatever level. But now I'm putting a hill here. I guess that just sort of happened. Let's do that. Yeah, I don't want to bring it down too much, and I don't want to bring it down too fast. The other thing is we could get a good-sized bridge out of this if we really wanted to. Like, we have the stubby bridge here over the river, but if we wanted to, we could get a pretty good sized bridge like down here a little ways. I don't think we need to mix that up a little bit, but adding a turn would be nice, so I think I'm going to do that. This has been too straight. This is too straight, and it's been here for too long. So I think I'm going to go to over here, and the reason for that is I'm going to put... Yeah, there's a depression there. And so I might even put a little Kettle Lake there. We need to break this down a little bit. There. Yeah, where's this depression that I was just looking at? It's right over here. That makes sense. Yeah, so let's get the track over to here, heading in this direction, but we do need more terrain over here before we do that. I'll leave that the way it is, mostly. Let's fill in this area more. The idea is, if we're getting farther and farther from inland, because we're being forced there by terrain rising, basically, inland, then the terrain inland has to be higher, so that means we've got to build some more mountains, we've got to make there be a better backdrop, basically. But I do want to put another river maybe right about here that we can go over. Although that's really low. I don't think I'm going to put another river until we're on the other side of the estuary, which I don't even know where that would be. That'd be somewhere over here. But that's awfully close to the other river, which I guess would be the Mason River. It's in Mason Valley. It's, you know, everything there is the same. Same old, same old. Same old, same old. Yeah, let's put a nice big blockade in the way here. It's like, yes, you had to turn. We're not going to need a tunnel on this, though. That would be insane. The VMR is probably going to be pretty tunnel happy, or tunnel filled. They would not be tunnel happy. Their sort of modus operandi was not to build tunnels, because tunnels are expensive. The Zion and Skyline does not care, and would build tunnels all day, because they make incredible amounts of money off of incredible amounts of coal. So, yeah, let's see. So we can start building up over here if we want to. Basically, just gonna wave my wand around and make some hills, make some hillocks. Hills turn to mountains. I'm not gonna do... I don't know what I'm gonna do in terms of mountains. I got some good looks at the Catskills, and sort of the lower... I don't know what you'd call them. Mountains closer to New York City. I think they're still the Catskills, I'm not sure. But I got a good look at them at the Berkshires a lot. Yesterday. Yesterday, not 2 days ago. Feels like 2 days ago, because today has been nuts so far. Thought I had a test. Didn't have a test, thank goodness, but find out the test is on Monday, which is the same time, which I've got another test on Monday. I have a test tomorrow, Friday. And I'm not looking forward to it. In fact, this is my break from studying. But yeah, no, it's this week, man. I can never get the hang of Thursdays. I've said that before, so I don't know why I put this on a Thursday. I don't know why I always put these things on Thursdays. It was Trains Thursdays was the real motivation, but so let's do our best to sort of keep this in a sane arrangement. I probably very close to the edge here. I probably won't do all of the scenic work that needs to be done overall, but we will do something. We'll make it look complete from trackside. Other than that, there's not really much else I can do. What I might do, this is not a guarantee at all, because I did say I wanted to build, the GE first, the Gilson Eastern first. But even just to take even more of a break from building a town after we get done with Bellington, which is going to be... It's not going to be like all of... It's going to be similar in that we're going to have that same sort of feel in some very small sections of town. But by and large, it's not going to be suburbia, the way we think about it. I might have like 1 or 2 dozen blocks. No. It might have a handful of blocks of suburbia type subdivisions of houses, but for the most part it will not be that. It will be farm town, some very old buildings, grain silos mostly, other stuff to switch out, no real mills there, I would think. I haven't really gotten neck deep in mills. Olive isn't really a milling town, although they do a lot of the wood milling. In Salesville, I might have some sort of pulpwood loader. Or, sorry, not Salesville. Salesville is the real-life version. In Mason Valley, I might have some sort of pulp loader, and that pulpwood can be taken to a paper mill that's going to be in Wambeck, which is on the other side of the map. But there might be other places where we get pulpwood from. There probably will be, as a matter of fact. Okay, that's coming along. And also, there's another thing that I had not considered. And I don't know, I would have never thought of it if I didn't do the NEBW operating session, but it's milk. In this day and age, a lot of railroads had to run milk trains, and there were these night jobs, and they would drop off milk at various places. They would pick up milk from dairies and creameries that were scattered across the landscape, one at a time, basically. And they would drop off, milk at these various distribution centers, either grocery stores or just places where, distribution centers where milkmen would come and take the milk and deliver it to people's houses. That was still a thing in this day and age, and I don't know why that flew over my head. But I'm not sure if we have a milk commodity. I have not seen that. I'll have to check my spreadsheet to make sure that that's a truthful statement. But for the most part, I don't know what I'd do. I need to think about that. I need to think about the milk situation. But, if it comes to be that that's a good idea for us, then we're going to have some milk trains. We're going to have some serious milk trains. We're going to have some creameries as well, dairy farms. I don't think this area would necessarily be suited for dairy. It's more of a grain area that we're getting into. But there may be a 5th track down the line once we cross over that we, actually would have some dairy farms at. I don't even know what a dairy farm looks like, I'm going to be honest. The thing with the NBW, the thing with model railroading in general, is that you don't have to put all the buildings there. Generally, the backdrop is so close that you can get away with not doing that. You can get away with, 1 or 2 buildings per industry, unless you really want to go all out. Whereas, we've got all this land around us. While it might be easier to do, because it's virtual, we still do have to deal with that. We have to deal with the fact that we have to place down everything. If we're going to do it right, we've got to place down everything. That's I don't know about this turn. Yeah, see, no. Because either this needs to be shorter or that needs to be straightened out. Nope, not like that. Or both, yeah. In fact, I'd even opt to move it back further. And this is going uphill, isn't it? This is going uphill. I didn't want to go uphill, I wanted to go downhill. What is the height of this? It feels like it's going really uphill. No, it's actually going wicked downhill. Okay, I take that back then. That's a fairly sharp turn, though. For what I'm trying to do, it's a fairly sharp turn. So I'm going to adjust this further. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to take this over here. Alright, so there's that. If I can get it to here. I think that's fine. How high is this end? 2. Okay, that's getting pretty low, actually. I'm not the biggest fan of that. It's maybe too low. So let's raise this all slightly. Because that means we dropped like 10 meters. And I'm not... I don't know, I do want to drop, but I don't want to drop that much. I think that's a little bit too much as well. Let me see here. Let me raise this. 6. Okay, that didn't change all that much, did it? I think we need to cut this back to like here. Yeah, right about there. Seems good. Yeah, that's a nice broad turn. I like it. And it seems to be good at balancing out the highs and lows. Okay, what is the... Ooh, that's too high, though. So, oh. Okay, never mind. I did the thing I wanted to do. $99, $96. Alright, that's worthwhile. That's doable. We can even lower it if we wanted to get to... How high is this guy now? Yeah, no, we're coming down too far. And now I am playing God. Now I'm doing the thing that I didn't want to do. But we're coming down pretty far right now, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. That's 4. What does it look like if I just attach this to this? I mean, other than stupid, because I know it looks stupid. Actually, that's not too bad. We've got a fairly elegant S-curve going on. Thing is, I don't know what's ahead of us, so I don't know which way I want this to turn. Here's what we can do, actually. Let me lay down some water, because I have an idea. Okay, apparently that's not going to fly. Oh, okay, it does, actually. It does fly. It totally flies. Let's fill all this in, because that's what we've got to do. Wish we had an even bigger radius. Could use it. Looks like I filled in a little bit too much water, because we have a thing there. That's fine. I probably should have made sea level just barely above. But it gives me a good idea of what I've worked on and what I haven't. All the Z fighting. Because it means, okay, you haven't touched this yet. It's still flat and at 0. Whereas if I can't see it, I can't, you know, if I can't look underwater, just can't look underwater, I can't see what's going on. Okay, so here's the thing. We made this bump by accident, but I think I'm going to make use of it. So, what I think I'm going to do is I'm making this a more real bump. And I'm going to make it sort of a spit out this way. So let's do this. We already know that we shouldn't be, at this point we probably shouldn't be making too many islands. So we'll have to judge that in a second. Yeah, okay, so too much here. Lower this spot. Lower this area. Good. This whole shelf needs to go. Oh, this is an area that I actually hadn't touched yet. Yeah, this needs to go away. This. That, and that. Okay, good. This edge bit, and then some stuff in here. Including this island. Yeah, I'm just gonna lower it, like, this area even more, because why not? It's the ocean, man. It's not supposed to have a flat bottom, and it's not supposed to be shallow either. Even though we've made it pretty shallow at this point. Alright, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this some. We're gonna keep doing the same stuff because we need to lower all this crap. I don't know how low is low enough. And I'm really just making it low enough to get a shipping channel in the future. Alright, so we're going to put this over here. We're going to put this here. Lower that. Lower that. Oh, missed a spot. Yeah, this whole area should not be... We should not worry about this being too shallow. This whole area. Because it shouldn't be too shallow. It should be fine. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to actually sort of thread the needle with the railroad. So we already have a hill over here. If I turn up the sensitivity, I can continue working on it. But it's going to sort of taper off, and it's going to head in that direction. We're going to have a bit of a ridge line, almost. And I know I said that before, and then I didn't stick to it. But, you know, nature did its own thing. I didn't finish doing this. Hold on. Okay. So let's finish oceanizing, ocean manning. And if you stop moving the camera, it stops Z-fighting, if you guys haven't noticed that. But it doesn't really matter, because we're trying to get rid of all the Z-fighting, and you can still see the spots where it's supposed to be. The Z-fighting is not a feature. It's just a thing that happens when you have two overlapping textures. If you'll notice, if you go back to the Mason Road episode, or the Talking to Myself episode, I should say, there's not a small bit about when he's showing me, and I'm essentially showing the audience at that point, how to put the multi-part roads together using the connector thing. And buried within that is the notice that when you put things on top of one another, they start Z-fighting. And so you have to change the level of one of the things by just a tiny fraction, and it'll work. It won't do that. Which I think I've demonstrated by doing this a little bit as well. Alright. Lower that. Lower that. Okay. So, this looks stupid right now. That's okay for now. Once we sort of finish this, we'll be at the estuary, though. So that's fine. That's good. We're basically going to come farther inland. We're going to rise, and then we're going to fall again. And it'll only be a 1% grade at max, because the Gilson Eastern is very grade averse, which means it avoids them. So, you know, they're not expense averse, and that's really the thing. They would go the extra mile. I just don't think that I don't think we have a tunnel. You know, I don't think there's a reason enough for us to do that, for us to have one. Because there's not going to be any sort of geological formation that gets in the way to the point where we have to tunnel through it instead of going around it. Maybe on the north shore of the peninsula, or sorry, south shore of the peninsula, because we're on the north shore now. Maybe there'd be something over there that would cause that, but I really don't think so. The other thing is, you know, I've thought a lot about... Actually, I talked about that already. I talked about how I want to have the two interweaving lines, but there's no real good place on the map to put them. Well, how far are we in? Click. Okay. I didn't open up the little Bandicam window this time, so I couldn't really see what I was doing, see how far in I was. Some of the mountains in the Berkshires are actually quite steep. You know, it surprises me how much of a sheer sort of cliff almost you have to deal with. And it's not really a cliff necessarily. It can be sometimes. But it is quite a hill. It's quite steep. And it's not the thing I would expect to see, because it looks like that area that I just ran my cursor over, that I just patched up, or just started raising it. You know, it sometimes will look like this, and even at that scale almost too, and it's incredible. You've got these mountains that just rise out of nowhere, and it's, you know, it's a reminder that, yeah, you're in a mountain range. They might not be the Rockies or the Cascades, but you're in a mountain range. It's just I don't think about it like that. I think about them as kind of gentle, even when they really aren't, sometimes. Now, by and large, railroads try to keep their grades consistent. Now, there's plenty of situations, rolling hills, like this, where you can't really do that. You just have to go with what's put out in front of you. But for the most part, a railroad will try to keep its grades consistent. It'll try to make sure that, you know, if you need to get up to a high point, you just have basically a, you know, X% grade for X number of miles to get up there, and not this constant change in gradient, basically. So we got that. We also still have some Z-fighting right there. There we go. We have a thing. I don't like the way this bay looks. No, that's too much of a divot as well. That's not any good. Is this... Oops, well, I guess I just transformed that all into water instead of whatever it was before. This could be cool. There are always all sorts of funny little inlets scattered around. And basically we have another thing to bridge over there, or at least we'll put the highway through here. That's the other thing, I need to find a way to get the highway through. So the other thing is I still need to build where the railroad's going to go. In between here. And I'm going to continue in this direction. With some hills that are going to go out in this direction. And like I said, they're going to make this valley here in between this set of hills and the other one. And we're getting into like a terminal moraine sort of situation, where we're along the coast, and this is where the glaciers would have ended, sort of. But I don't know. I honestly am not entirely sure what I'm going to do to texture this, but it's probably just going to be trees. It's just going to be the same sort of tree stuff that we've been sticking around from, you know, since we designed that 3-tree mixture. That doesn't look all that bad. I think I might want to build some sort of edge to it so that you can't see way deep into the forest without looking past, you know, a layer of intermediate foliage, because that's sort of how it works. You know, and that's one of the things, like, when you go out to build a route like this, or, you know, you've got to go out in public, you've got to go out in the world and keep your eyes open and see these things. And I happened to notice that while I was walking a track with Madison, of all things. I looked, you know, I sort of went to look into the woods, and I realized, you can't see very far into the woods, because your view is immediately blocked by all these bushes. And, you know, these things that spring up when you cut down, or, you know, when you reach the edge of the forest, basically. Anything in the undergrowth that wouldn't get enough light to get even moderately tall is then suddenly able to get the light and is tall-ish. You know, it's not tall, but it's taller than it would have been. It's just, you know, it's just basically, it's plants filling the gap that has been created. Alright, let's fill this up a little more with some dirt. And whatever we have there. So this is going to come this way. I might even have it hug this side instead of that side, but that's a little bit of a hurdle. How tall is this? 13, so we're right back up to where we were. Almost. Actually, no, that is where we were, isn't it? If I unstraighten this, right, and then sort of just move the track this way, we still have to make it over that hill somehow. If I do this, and then that, what does this look like? Not so great, but not too bad, really. That altogether does not look terrible. We've got a lot of cut and a lot of fill. We've got a long, slow curve. Last thing to check is the gradients. That's 0.5. That's 1.7, that's 2.4. That's really high. That's actually much higher than I would like. So what I might have to do is make a little bit more of an embankment here. Oh, almost got rid of it. Alright, that's 0.18. This is now 1.46. Or 1.53 if you zoom out, I guess. Because that makes a difference. I'll have to bring this to the other side, where I can lower it. And we're going to have a fairly deep cut here. But that's okay. Oh, I did it. I finally screwed up. Yeah, Okay, so we have 0.64 there. We have 1.08, which is too much. And we have this, which is 0.18. So in the middle, if I raise this just a little bit more, everything should be fine. It's just, it's now going to look stupid. Because we're going to have a crazy embankment. Let's see how it looks. Actually, that's not that bad. This cut's a little rough. But I think that's passable. I think that's passable. We do have to curve back in this direction and get over here somewhere. I need to concept what the sort of estuary's edge is going to look like. What the heck was that? So, but it's going to have this long spit. You know, and these probably these like pockets of, you know, these pockets of watery area, and then the ocean side is, you know, gonna be there. I'm trying not to like accidentally draw dicks. But yeah, no, that looks cool. This looks cool. We'll run the highway off the map and bring it back so we won't have to deal with it. Because that won't matter as much. But yeah, so it's going to be like this. We're going to have a lot of isolated pockets of water. Or not isolated, but a lot of these pockets of water. And then pockets of land. Or, you know, spits of land that we're going to be able to build out on. Then we get this. Yeah, I need to stop doodling, basically, is what that's telling me, because I'm just going to sit there and draw the estuary all day. And it's probably going to come out to, like, here. So we're going to spend a lot of time crossing this swampy area where there won't be too many trees. Here's the other thing we can do while we're here, actually. We could build a section of the abandoned right-of-way that goes around this way. Yeah, that would make sense. We could do that. We'll do that. Just not right now. Oh, I broke the dial. That's interesting. That is interesting. I've never seen that before. Whatever, we'll have to live with it for now. Alright, so the other thing is we need to sort of... Okay, so let me do this real quick, actually. Because this is something that I haven't done in a little bit while we're working on this. And it'll help me get more done more quickly. So it's going to look stupid at first. But I'm going to bring this over here. I'm going to tuck it in over here. Not completely. Like that. There we go. I wanted to put it in completely and I just slightly missed. Sounds like my love life. Alright, so there's that. There's a nice flat area for us to work on. Because I don't really know what we want to do with all this necessarily, but we are going to have to sort of come back to that area. Also, we need to do that. We will have to work on this, so we will need to sort of... We're going to need to put hills here. Thing is, now that we have a plateau, I don't have to raise all of that area to whatever height we're working at, which is like 27. Yep, 27.5. I said it and then checked the number that is very clearly displayed. Like one of my own two T's. It's like a kid that tries to spell the word when it's printed on the page in front of them. It's like, is it EA? And like, it's psst, there's a hint. It's your spelling word. It's right in front of you. You can figure it out. And then they'll notice it and they'll write it down. Like, yay, alright, good. Or we'll just figure it out, because there's no harm in that, really. It's just a little bit of extra time, which, when you've only got an hour to tutor a kid, you can only get through so much. Which is sort of a shame. At the same time, kids get bored. I get bored. And yeah, it's best to either take breaks or whatever. I'm not one, like, if I'm dealing with a kid, I'm usually not one to say, alright, we're gonna stop and play a game or whatever. Because they're only there for an hour. An hour is not that hard to do. If it was longer than that, if it was like 2 hours, I'd say, okay, we'll work for 45 minutes, take a half-hour break, and work for another 45 minutes. That works. That maths out. But it's just the idea that, we only have an hour. An hour is kind of short, all things considered. At least that's what I think these days. And so I want to just get all the work done, or, get as much done as possible. He's like, oh, can we give up now? No. At that point, we're probably already 45 minutes in. It's like, we can get another 15 minutes of work, and then you can go home and do whatever you want at home. This is tutor time, not playtime. Cynthia, if you ever watch this, that's how I roll. Cynthia's my boss. I feel like she already has a good idea of how I roll, considering she's been my boss for 4 years. But then again, she's normally busy with other aspects of the program to actually keep individual tabs on what we're doing. Okay, so we'll plateau that in a minute. I do think I need to work on making the hill a little bit more gradual, so I'm gonna do that. Because if not, then we do end up with these divots that I don't really want, because they're not natural, they don't make sense. But, this is a pretty good way to do that. To make things a little bit flatter. Naturally, it's a plateau tool, of course it makes things flat. But we can draw the hill out like this. And while it may look bad, because it does what it does, especially on the 5-meter grid, it looks even worse. Because there's just more points to screw up. Or, to transpose weirdly. What it ends up doing is it creates this rather gradual slope that when we put trees over it, it does not matter what it looks like underneath. It's just a hill. And that doesn't look half bad. And so if we do this, especially if we do the edge trees properly, like I was talking about. So you can't see deep into the forest, you can't see what all the undergrowth area looks like. You just see a slowly ascending forest, and that looks good. But yeah, so that will have come through there, and then if we raise this area, I am going to have to blend this more. Let's see, we've gotten from there to here, more or less, in an episode. That's not great. I am not a speedster when it comes to building routes, if you don't know that. In fact, doing this, doing under construction the way I do, makes me even more impressed with the people that have competed in the route build competitions in the past that we've done, and just how much they can get done in a couple of hours. Because I can't compete with that. I am so slow, and I would call it methodical, but I don't think it's necessarily that. It's just I'm not quick with what I'm doing. I'm not quick with the decisions that I'm making in terms of a route build. I'm just plodding along. And that's partially because I sort of have this demand that everything be real. And I want to, you know, sort of break myself of that a little bit. But that's, you know, that's a long time coming. Alright, that's 9. Oh, we need to come down. Oh, we're going up, not down. You know what? That looks fine, actually. I like that. We will have to turn, make a straight line, pretty much directly along the coast. Oh, where's the highway gonna go? Probably right up here. Not that, yeah, well, the highway and the interstate as well. They both have got to go somewhere. I think I might combine the two. I'll have to build some sort of interchange for them. Speaking of which, let's figure out the highway right now. I did say I wanted to put some sort of community here. Or no, that was over here, was it? In this area? Beach community. Let's see, do I want to just like go up the side of the hill here? Because I can do that probably. Probably. Yeah, it's just sort of the weird edge. Nope. Please put... There we go. Alright, that doesn't do that. Unless I do that. Then I can have it do this. There. Yeah, this is well within the scope of what a highway can do. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the top. Actually, what's going to happen is I'm probably going to put a point there, and then I'll put another point on this side, and that'll just sort of work like it does. Yeah. So now we have this sort of over-the-hump feeling. We're going to come down, we're going to go over that with the same sort of bridge that we used over here. Yoink. I mean, it really should be in more of a straight line. But, whatever. A lot of things I'll say whatever to. This map. Yeah, it does not look good. Let me grab the road again, because we can do something with this. If I just make this one spline there, and then another one from here to probably here. Let's move this down. Alright, we need to literally move it down, like, there. Let's see. Sorry, I'm not being too talkative right now. I'm just trying to think about this stupid highway right now. But, you know, yeah, this embankment, and then we can probably come up on this side a little bit. At least make the bridge flat. Which should probably be better for the bridge itself. And we'll do that, which works, I guess. And it's a little bit wiggly for a road. I don't really like it. But all things considered, it's not terrible. Yeah, I could do that. I could do more of more straight section and then curved section. I could straighten this, but that would screw up the elevation stuff. So let's see, where am I going to take the highway now? I think this way. Now I can straighten it. Straighten that. And this isn't the interstate highway system. This is just a, you know, this is a route. This is a US route, or, you know, equivalent. Which means it doesn't really have to conform to all of the standards we're used to highways having. And, you know, and by we, I mean me. And Mason, I guess. So Mason cares. Nobody else cares. But that curve right there, see, I really wish I had the spline map like I do for railroads in roads. So we can do that, and then we can do that. We can do that. Yeah, the thing with the roads is it's just a wide road. You know, the highway's a wide road. That's sort of the only issue with building embankments for it and stuff. That's why they come out looking weird. So we'll go to there. It's like this isn't unspoiled terrain too. That's sort of what annoys me about having to put the highway here. It's like, oh, it'd be so nice. It's not nice though. We've got this road. That's a spiral curve. That's not allowed. Again, not in the 1950s. Nobody cared. Right, basically, let's just straighten that there. This is where what I would do is I would put the what I would do if I was smart is that's where I would put the intersection for the next thing. Wait, which track is that? Okay, good. So I was going to see how close can I press this to the edge of the track without causing trouble. Boink. Okay, so we're gonna go over the top here, which that's probably about as close as I can get because that's the edge of the, that's the edge of where the cut currently is. If I really don't like it, what I can do is when I install the other tracks, I can make the embankments for the middle tracks, not the outer tracks. Okay, right there. Okay. I need to straighten this, I think. Yep, there we go. Do that one or two more times. No. Where's that? Where's my phone? Oh, it fell down. There we go. So we're getting somewhere with this road. It's a lot easier to figure out where the road's supposed to go than the railroad, that's for sure. Because I don't have to care about grades Or curves. Just slow down the motorists. Who cares? Yeah, look how smoothly this railroad curves. We're gonna get to super elevate all of this. I like. Oh, are we gonna have to go over the railroad though? With the highway? Oh, we will actually, because that's how it works. What are we gonna do with the highway though? Are we gonna put it like down here underneath? Because I don't like that. I don't like the idea of that spoiling this view. You know? It'd be a road that would be spoiling this view. I mean, technically we should have some road here. But I don't... nah. Yeah, I do want to bring it in from here. Maybe even just end it here. But then I would have to build this to interstate standards. Or would I? But we could just say like interstate ends, blah blah. Then I would still need to get it over the 5 tracks of this main line. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like any of it. I don't like trying to figure out where to put this stupid interstate. So that's the thing I don't want to do. I don't want to have to deal with an interstate and a road weaving back and forth. It's sort of the question of, am I even going to bother with it now? Because I could just bring it in from like here or something. But this area is kind of tight. You know, would they even bother bringing the interstate through? They've got this highway, which they could hypothetically upgrade to interstate standards. But you'd need to put a median in between. You couldn't just do this. So I think they would, since there's already not an interstate going through Olive, I think they'd already opt not to. In fact, there might even not be one on this section of the peninsula. There might be just one going to Gilson City, and that's it. I don't know, I need to think about how that'd be mapped out. In fact, I'm going to bring up the map real quick and look at it. So I will describe what I'm looking at, because I know you guys can't see it. Where's my own map? There it is. I didn't make it on this computer, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, all things considered, they're... I don't know. I don't know. Because it could come in sort of from the far east, and then just sort of join up at Bellington. Like, Bellington I want to have the interstate at. And then it'll follow the tracks, more or less, all the way to Zion, or all the way to Gilson City. But I don't know where to bring that in, especially, you know, if it's this close to Olive, why wouldn't they route it through Olive? That's sort of the question that I'm having. And then it would make sense to just upgrade the highway to interstate sort of standards. I don't know. We've got all this area. That's going to go through here. Would it follow the river? See, I don't want to spoil this view. I don't know. I think I'll just have to figure it out later. I'll put it off to future me. Maybe the interstate will come in on the other side of the estuary. Because on the other side of the estuary, we should have a lot more room. In fact, things should open up. Like, this is fairly hilly. I don't want that over there. I want to move to the more grassy stuff. So, estuary should be probably, yeah, about to here, and then we should have plenty of room here to steal Mason's design for our cloverleaf. I do want the minimap for this real quick. 0.7, negative 64, 0.61, and then negative 1.49. So we go up and then down. There's a lot of elevation changes going on here, and I don't really like it. I can't believe we broke this. Does that happen to anybody before? Like any of you guys? It has not happened to me before. This is a new experience for me. Alright, but we have to keep filling this in. We have to keep making this sort of ground level. The track when we go through the estuary is not going to be, 30 feet above the ground, probably. But we, A, will see. And B, I'm building into the ocean, aren't I? I am. Let's put some more water in before I screw this up more. Yeah, I feel like this is sort of like the thing that we used to have to do with the plateau tool to get stuff to the right level. I still do it sometimes, but you don't necessarily have to. So go along here. There we go. We found the edge of the thing that I accidentally built. Well, it's a fixture now. Yeah, we're gonna have to sink all this land for the sake of eliminating Z fighting and just for making the water as deep as it should be. Alright, so there we go. Alright. Speaking of which, I might have to abandon using the... Not speaking of which. I might have to abandon using the Train Fever soundtrack as a background. Because apparently, there's some band out there that is making things that are, shall we say, eerily familiar or quite similar to Transport or Train Fever, Admiral James T stuff. And twice now I've been flagged for that. Not for what it actually is, but for something else. And so twice I've filed a dispute saying, you guys have got it all wrong. We'll wait to see sort of what happens because of that. But it's only been a couple of days. So, I had to really do some searching to figure out who these people were, and that wasn't because they were trying to hide themselves. It's just because they're not well known at all. And I was like, oh, these guys are just making their own music. I don't know how they ended up being part of the content filter, but they did. And so, we're sort of left with this band that I would suppose doesn't really do an awful lot. Or, doesn't have a lot of things. Their thing is on, they're on, what is that musical service? SoundCloud. I guess it's a musical service. I kind of hesitate to call it that. I feel like it's a whatever service. But it's definitely a musical service. I don't really know the reason for the hesitation. At any rate, they're there. I found them, so I listened to their stuff a little bit, and I was like, yeah, I guess I could see why you'd confuse this with Admiral James T. But the thing is, and I talked about this in a recent Kerbal episode that I recorded. Not sure when that's coming out. It might have come out already. That YouTube looks for an exact match, and that's why it's so good at spotting, even just a little section, because it's not, it's not looking for, oh, does this sound like that? It's, is this that? It does the same thing that if anybody has, and twice I've almost called something Spotify when it's not Spotify. What is it? Shazam. I use it all the time. But if you have Shazam, then you know what I'm talking about. That's the sort of thing that YouTube uses to recognize, hey, this is someone else's content. It grabs a snippet and compares it to everything it has in its database. And so it doesn't tend to miss things because you'd be missing, something that's exactly the same. Okay, so now we have some stuff to clean up. that all taken care of? No, not quite. Over here, over here, over here, over here. I keep going. I'm almost there. Alright, nope. Missed a spot or a couple. There, over there, down here. I am trying to take care of all of the spots, which is going to be tricky. But the more that I sort of wave my cursor around, the more that the seafloor gets varied, and that's good because right now it's very striated. It has a lot it has a lot of parallel lines, which is something you don't necessarily want. You can find them in nature, but they aren't that common. Nothing in nature is that orderly. And so we're left with just making random squiggles and whatever else happens to be easy to create in the game. I mean, sort of make up for that, because we're never going to be able. We will never achieve true randomness. We'll never be able to reflect that with any sort of efficiency, because to humans we try to make patterns out of everything. Even things that are truly random are not all that random, or don't seem to be all that random. I mean, the prime example of this is YouTube, or not YouTube, iTunes, some time ago. Oof, olden days. I still use iTunes. iTunes has their shuffle algorithm, and this is extended. It continues. Apple has a shuffle algorithm, and people complained that it would play, 2 songs by the same artist in a row or something like that, and so they complained that that's not. It hasn't been shuffled. It's not random enough. When that's perfectly random. In random series, you get repeats, and you get, you get stuff that doesn't feel random necessarily, but is. And, oh, that was a very bad place to have an indent, but I guess we've got one there. We have to deal with it. And that's the sort of thing we have to welcome. I mean, flip. I'm acting like Morty now. But flip a coin, 50 times, or even 10 times, or roll a die 50 times. You're gonna see patterns. You're gonna see like, oh look, it went 3-6-3-6. Holy cow, that's not random. What sort of absurdity is this? The die is rigged or something like that. Of course, I doubt you'd say that. But, I doubt you'd make that conclusion over just fiddling around with a die. But it's the idea that we can totally make those kinds of generalizations. We can totally think that, hey, there's something wrong with this, when really there's not, just because it doesn't seem random, because we're finding patterns in it. Overall, I mean, the way the iTunes randomness algorithm works, at least, is that you've got some songs, or, you've got all your songs in your library, if you're using all your songs in your library, which I do. And it puts them in order, and it says, okay, so we've got 2,000 songs, it's going to be in order, it's going to be 2,000 songs long, because that's how many you have, and you're going to hear each song once, which, works, is not actually strictly perfectly random, but the order is randomized. And that's good enough. That's quote unquote random. It's all that people really ask for. But, you'd see 2 songs in a row by Led Zeppelin and be like, well, how come it didn't play a different song? There's a pattern here. But that's not really a pattern. It's coincidence. And you'll see this in confirmation bias all day long. That's, it's at the heart of what confirmation bias is. And the reason that it's, the reason that it's so used, it's, I only see, I noticed that X always does Y, or, something like that. And you see this correlation when there really isn't any correlation. It's just coincidence. But you happen to notice it, and you catalog it in your mind, And you don't tend to notice when it doesn't happen because it doesn't fit what your mind is used to seeing. And it's just this sort of, it's part of being human. We're used to recognizing patterns. We're used to seeing the same things again and again. And then we get accustomed to them. And so we get accustomed to them in order for us to be able to think about them, basically. In order for us to be able to take these things for granted and actually not think about them is what I should have said. Because you can expect, oh, I see X, I expect Y. I see, what's like a harmless stereotype we can use? I see somebody in a BMW. I expect them to not use their directional, or as we call them in New England, blinkers. They're not going to use their blinker because they're driving a BMW. And and you start to sort of, and then you search for evidence that sort of matches your conclusion. And that's where the real trouble sets in for people that are trying to give, sort of factual statements. But that's just a part of everyday life for most people. It's, it doesn't really have any impact. We just develop these stereotypes, and occasionally, we'll meet someone that'll break them or make them or, whatever. I'm sure someday I will be driving behind a BMW and they'll put their directional on and they'll move over to the other lane. And I probably won't notice. And same thing if they do. Or same thing if they do sort of match my stereotype. Same thing if they don't use their turn signal. And move over to the other lane using that. It's not something that's necessarily consequential. And we may only notice it a handful of times because, if you're driving, you're focused on other things. But if you were to notice it all the time and take note of it every single time, you would still probably, or you probably wouldn't notice a real correlation. We just happen to see it. You happen to see it, maybe you notice it once. And then from there on, you might notice it again, because you were used to noticing, or, because you noticed it the first time, you notice it again, you say, oh, there it is again, there's somebody changing lanes, and they didn't use their directional, and they're in a BMW, wow, what a coincidence, or, oh, see, I knew it. Because we were totally able to derive patterns from single occurrences. And it's not a pattern, it's not even really a coincidence, it's just something that happened. But humans are really good at making generalizations, again, because it's what we're trying to be used to. Our brain tries to fill in gaps of A, things that we don't know, and B, things that we don't have to keep an eye on all the time. Or, things that will help us in our everyday lives by making it so that we can sort of go about our day and not think about everything. And this is applicable in a number of ways. You think about, for those of you that do drive, and I know I've been heavy on the driving lately, but probably because I haven't been able to do that much. Heavy on the driving metaphors, or whatever. You think about if you drive the same route every day, especially if you drive to work or to school, which is, typically the two places that you'll drive to every day. Or, you'll drive to one of the two, generally not both. But you'll have those days where you sit down in your car, you'll sort of zone out for 10-20 minutes, and you'll be at your destination, and you'll have no idea how you got there. And it may be a little bit freaky, but it's totally normal, because it's just our brain going, oh, I know this route, we don't need to think about it. And that's exactly why we come to these, sort of conclusions, or we have these stereotypes, or we, happen to notice these stereotypes that we ourselves come up with or that we hear. Because in order to conserve brain power, your brain takes shortcuts. And it commits things that you expect to see again and again. Even necessarily if you don't. Because there are some people that, they drive to one place once. And that's all they need. They can drive back to that place 100 times, without ever having to be told the directions again. And, it just works for them. It's marvelous. For some people, it doesn't work that way. they have trouble making that association. Of course, we're venturing off into a different topic, really, but for some people, our brains just make an association very quickly. We commit that away. And if there was something, else on that route, if you got told, oh no, go this way, this way, this way, you'd say, well, hold on a minute, that's not how I got there before. You get there a different way. I get there a different way. This doesn't make sense. I don't know why I added this here. I just spent all that time working on that tile. I don't need it. Should I just build this to, like, here? Where basically what I'm doing with this is I'm just building I'm building a topo line. I'm saying, this is the height at which all of this stuff is. Alright. And we'll use that as sort of a divider. I don't know. I'm not sure if anything I was saying was really coherent or cohesive. I'm just saying that we typically tend to make associations, whether they be true or not, off of a couple of things. And once we've done that, it's really hard to break the idea of those associations. It's tough to just sort of say, well, no, hold on, that's not really the way it is. That just happens to be the way I perceived it the first time. Because your brain will take into account the things that reinforce and not necessarily the things that do not match up, because they don't match up. You know why? You don't necessarily take note of them simply because of the fact that you are used to something else. You're used to something different. And again, the human mind has the shortcut of if something changes, if something is outside of what you were expecting, you'll usually just gloss over it. A lot of times, if it's inconsequential. There have been experiments where you start ordering with someone. You go up to a counter at food. Yeah. I'm at food. But you go up to a counter at like a coffee shop or something. And you start ordering. And this is like one of those social experiments. But like an actual experiment, not a quote-unquote experiment. Gone sexual or whatever. They'll have, you start ordering with somebody, and then that person will duck behind the counter to get something, and someone completely different will pop up and continue taking the order. And most people will not react at all. Because there's not a way for us to easily comprehend and process that data. And also, there's really no use for it. You're not going to question and say, what happened to the other guy? Because odds are you noticed them, and you took notice of what they were. What they were. They were human, probably. But who they were, what they looked like, color of their skin, color of their hair, color of their eyes, stuff like that. If they were tall or short. But you didn't really utilize that information in a meaningful way, and it doesn't really matter that it's different now. So your brain just sort of glosses over it, and then you continue on with your order without skipping a beat. Or, you'll skip a beat or two, but you won't do anything about it. That's just how the mind works, because it's easier to do that than to address every little difference in what you expect. That's why people, train for, I was going to say the military. I guess the military is a good example, because you'll see a difference in something, and that could mean death. But, it's why people train for various positions where any difference in something could be very bad. Think about somebody at, like, a nuclear power plant, and there's some sort of, they're looking at their gauges that are always the same, and there's some sort of difference. Normally, your brain would just sort of gloss over that unless you were paying specific attention and looking for those differences. if you don't see any change, or, if there isn't any change, you won't see any, obviously. But if there is any change, you want to be on top of that ball. You want to notice that, hey, this is different. Maybe we need to take a look at what the reactor's doing. Something like that. Now, I'd like to take a nuclear reactor aside. And this is actually just due to, so there's a lot of different thoughts about nuclear power. Now, Mason, I'm sure you're going to watch this and you are quite close to that kind of thing. So, if you want to fill in at the things that I don't get, if I say something wrong, etc. But, as in this show, I'm not a scientist. I am not a genius. I don't even have, like, a Wikipedia page open most of the time. And when I do, I say so. I don't think I've done that in this series. But, point is, I make mistakes. Don't take everything I say for granted. If it sounds reasonable, look into it, and then take it for granted. Or, look into it, and then, sort of judge on your own terms as to whether what I said was factual or fictitious or, just my opinion, man, etc. I know I go off on these rants, etc. Whatever. Anyways, there's a lot of opinions on nuclear power, especially in the U.S., and people like to point to 3 Mile Island a lot as sort of our nuclear disaster, like our Chernobyl, as if it was, as if that's the end all be all. That's the worst thing that can happen from a nuclear power plant failure in the United States. That's what you have to worry about. In some fronts, I would agree, because it is what you have to worry about. It's, there was a malfunction, there was an evacuation, but it was not our Chernobyl. It was not our Fukushima. It was not a meltdown. In fact, it was hardly even a disaster. It's sort of a textbook, well, something went wrong, and then all of the failure procedures went right. Like, there was a failure in the reactor, and the alarms went off, the area was evacuated, and by and large, nothing really happened. There wasn't an incredible amount of radiation leaked, there wasn't an actual meltdown, there wasn't an explosion, there wasn't, the plant didn't even have to be shut down. Overall. It was no Chernobyl. And, because I'm just saying it because people seem to think that it wasn't, or, that it was terrible. And that it's, it's sort of the reason that we should fear nuclear power in the U.S., but in the grand scheme of things, nothing, what were the consequences of it? We look back and it might have been a scary event, but all things considered, nothing really happened. Oh, we've got to get across this. Crud. This is going to be interesting, getting across this little bit of land here. Got 40 minutes left. Actually, let me go to the comments for a second. So, Southern Railroad 630 and 4501 Rock says, "Are you forgetting Southern Railroad?" No. I don't really know what you mean by that. If there's context for that, if there's something that I said in the episode that I, named a bunch of railroads or something, that was 2 weeks ago now. So I'm kind of, I don't remember what I was on about in that episode. As you can probably tell, I go through a lot of different topics. A lot of different thoughts. That 8.89, that's pretty reasonable. Do you think I could make it a little bit shorter by going over here? What can I do? Alright, let's bring up the minimap. That's 1.49. That's not good. That's this, actually. Here's what I'll do. I'll make this flat. And I will also pull it out to about there. Actually, I think it needs to go out farther, or this needs to go this way more. Actually, the second one seems more likely, or more apt, or more correct. What height is this? Okay, yeah, that probably works. Let's look at this. Let's try and make these about the same. Yeah, that's good. So we've got this. This is sort of a one-track extension of what should be 4 tracks. Weaving through here. I'm not sure if these curves are too tight for 79. If we super elevate them, they probably won't be that bad. If anything, we'll just have to slow the train down a little bit. This is going to be an interesting crossing, I guess. We should probably bring the highway in for that. Like, cross the right-of-way somehow. Maybe right here. This would be a good spot to do it. Maybe we can just send it off there. Yeah, send it over here. Just get it out of the way. This doesn't seem right. This sort of is getting to look like bluffs, which is not really what I want. That's better, I guess. We just need to lower this tip. Well, let's see, how high is that? It's 3 point whatever. Let's just apply that to this area. And we'll have to smooth the edges. That's fine. This is not. That's good. That's fine. Yeah, it's a question of what are we going to do with this edge here. Or just the fact that it's so flat. Sort of like an edge. It's not really an edge, though. See, when I am trying to work on something and I say half a sentence and then the rest of the words just sort of come out. Like whatever can fill that void. And then I'm having to think about it, go back and figure out what I said and what I should have said. Yeah, this looks good so far. If I come like down along here, should probably work fine. It's going to be getting a bridge for this. That's actually going to be a pain. So, the other one is Southern Railroad 630 and 4501 Rock said, "You said the 4-track main line is essentially the PRR. I am going out at 5 somewhere in the 15 miles. I think there should be 6 tracks. Okay. I mean, I'm thinking of putting a 5th one. Somewhere. Yeah, on the other side of the estuary, down here somewhere. But we'll have to see about that. Because, yeah, that's going to be its own thing. That would just be sort of a freight track so that you don't have to have another interlocking. Alright, so here's what we're gonna do for the last 15 minutes or so is we're gonna put in the other 3 tracks. We made strides today, which I think is good. We sort of did a decent job of getting work done. I'm happy with the amount of terrain we did. And the quality of it, I guess. But weaving this line through is probably the best part. I'm glad we actually found such, I won't call them easy ways to get across, but it's something. We just have to line this up next to the other. Let's do it about that far apart. We'll do them one at a time. And we will be mindful of how far apart tracks actually are. And we'll adjust them when we're done. We also do have to be mindful of the elevation of the different spline points, which I'm not sure. I think we'll just have to make it take a little bit longer to get it all done. Oh no, I knew that was coming sooner or later. Put that there. And then this, and then of course our last one has got to be a thing, you know, a straight section, sort of to bring everything back to sanity. This obviously is not going to be, it's not going to be, we're not going to use the terrain tool on it. We are going to use it for that. And all the other ones. Because there's nothing that sticks out at me saying, you know, we need to put a bridge here, except for over that bit of water. Which, that's going to be interesting to figure out how I want to do that. I'll probably just do a girder bridge, 4-track girder bridge, like we've already done in other areas. Oh, here's another one. I do have to remember to put those, because I do want there to be not insignificant remnants of the old right-of-ways. Or the old right-of-way, singular, I guess. Which was probably a single track. Yeah, it was a single track, hence that older bridge. Oop. Let's move this a little bit closer. I'm trying to keep all the distances consistent. Which is trickier than you might think. Because there's no real official standard for how that's supposed to work. Alright, that looks pretty good. We've got our first actual curves in the system. Which, it just sort of happens, you know, I didn't plan for it to look like this. This is, again, with the randomness. This is, you know, this is where we started our thought adventure. With the idea that, you know, nothing's really, and even the random things won't seem random. Like, this does not seem random enough, even though it was created by randomness. It was created by me trying to find a path through what essentially are randomly generated hills that I made. And yes, I did make them. Whoops. Hold on. No, let's just undo that. Try it again. Yes, I did make them, but I didn't make them with any sort of order in mind. I made them just to fit a few basic laws, or a few basic ways that things are shaped. And we were left with what we had to navigate through. Which I think is pretty wonderful. It can give us things that are pretty tame, which I think this line so far has been pretty tame. We've got something... We've really got something in the way of cuts and embankments, but all things considered, it's not been crazy. Like, at some point we're going to have to hit Douglas Airline levels of cuts and embankments, probably. You know, but this so far has not exactly been an engineering marvel. It's just been 4 tracks that are sort of weaving through the hills. It's not even real hills, it's shoreside hills. We haven't gotten the tracks over 15 meters above sea level yet. Which, you know, not exactly significant, I'd say. They haven't gotten any elevation, and frankly, they probably never will. Because this is the Gilson Eastern we're talking about here. They're an oceanside road. They're a water level route, sort of. They just stick by the water and they build track there. They don't want to climb hills. They're not good at it. Alright, so let's do this. Line up track number 3. Technically, I think this is track 1 or 2. It's clear in the portal. 1 and 2 are the middle 2 tracks, 3 and 4 are the outer ones. And I think 1 is actually northbound. So that means this is track 2 that we just went on. Yeah, we're starting to get that squiggle. See, somebody might say, oh, you know, that's totally planned. They just did that wiggle there. But then we're going to make a turn and a straight and another turn, so that's basically going to be it. We might have a not really so straight section here based on what the terrain is like, but odds are it's just going to be a straight line. But getting up to this edge of the estuary, that's what I want to do next time. If you guys really want me to do something else, say something, of course. I am all ears. That is way too close. I'm all eyes, really, because I have to read it. But, yeah, we'll have to figure out this bridge. This is going to be an interesting endeavor. I feel like I should look up culvert. If anybody knows any good culvert stuff, let me know. Oh, I didn't even get to talk about the switch stands. I started getting on that topic, and then I got away from it. So if we have another minute or so, I'll show those off. Once we finish this track number 3 or 4. It should be track 3 if track 1 is northbound. This local track here to complete the main line. I know the other thing we didn't do, we didn't put the signal box at the other place. I think we did. Did we? If not, we should do that. That looks wonky. Because we're building in this direction now. It's pretty simple for us to do this, though. Do all this. Put that there. I did not attach that properly. There. Alright, put that like that. Grab this. Apply it. And we'll do that on the way back. But yeah, so there were some cool switch stands on Mason's route. And I asked him if they were from the DLS, and he said yes. And so I immediately went and downloaded every single one of them, which was quite a few. And in fact, it took all night. But I have them now, and I'll probably use them if just I can remember what they were called. So I'll have to think about that. I'll have to think about it. And when I figure it out, I can type it in and see if I'm right. Because if I'm not, then I don't know where the I don't know where I put the switch stands. I should put one in here, like I do. We do need to put some sort of minimum clearance between these tracks. This is the one that doesn't change. We're going to straighten this, and this will be the last... Actually, second to last, because we have to do the one that's across here. It does actually matter, because it'll influence the elevation of this one. There we go, cut back that hillside. You know, I do think about, like, the bit of hillside that we get to see. Like, there are some highways around here that when you drive them, basically all you see is, you know, you see this lump in the middle with drainage ditches on either side of it. It's like, was that the remnant of... Is that just what they didn't feel like clearing out? Or was there just a hill there that we went around? So you guys get all the insider info. I should put a guardrail on that so nobody falls off the highway and onto the railroad tracks. That'd probably be smart. But there we go, we've got that. Okay, we need to put the signal tower over here if we haven't already. For this. At the very least, just need to put it somewhere, probably on this side. Yeah, right there is good. So let's go grab it. Let's go grab that signal tower. But we'll still be using the Switch Machine NS Black things for that. Where is it? It should be right over here. Right in the middle of the interlocking. Well, off to the side. Right. There we go. Here our signal cabin. Hello, Olive. Goodbye, Olive. We'll have to put an actual signal tower here sooner or later. But this, we can change it to OSI, Olive South Interlocking. And we have that there. Okay, so let me just search up switch stand. Oh, never mind. There they are. New Century. M51 and M50s. So the M50s are going to be the ones that are more in era. Let me just go over here, because this... They wouldn't be on this line, but we can show them off right here. Because they wouldn't be on that line either. We've got the M50s as well, which these guys are... So basically what we've got is we've got this, which is yellow, white, you know. But they're very nice. They've even got a little padlock on them. And they have all these different colors. Yellow, green, left. Yeah. And so I'll probably be supplanting the ones on the olive branch with these. Because these are apparently PRR inspired. I think I said that already. But I don't want to. I feel like I should leave the olive branch as is, because we already named all those switch stands. But in the future, everything's going to be using these. Unless you guys want me to change the olive branch to match, because I can do that. That's not too difficult. But yeah, this is what we expect to see out of some of their stuff. This is why we didn't go over there. We went inland. So yeah, this is our line so far. We've got cut, embankment, cut, embankment, cut, embankment, cut, embankment, 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 embankment. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of embankment, which is, it's good and it's bad. Which, you know, we should be doing more cut. It's just having more cut, I think, arguably looks a little bit worse. So this is a significant cut right here. That provided a lot of fill material. I don't know. I'm happy with this so far. I'm not happy with the fact that we immediately straightened it back out to due south, but it's not really going to matter, or due west, I guess. East-west. It's not exactly spot on, and it's not really going to matter. But it's just the fact that it's like, oh, we're doing all these elegant curves, and then we go out to being just dead straight again. Which, So I did want to curve more this way, but we have to avoid this, and yeah, and I didn't want to make that curve too sharp. So anyways, next week we'll be getting the tracks to here, I would hope. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week. Trainman out.